All right, welcome back. Episode 2 of Gridloc'd, where business mind meets. Here I am today, Derek Williams, your host, Bay Area real estate agent. Today we got a special guest, one of my cool friends. He got a pretty dope job in the NBA. He's an NBA writer. But I'm gonna let him do a lot of the talking, so we're just gonna jump right into it. Welcome to the show, CJ. How you doing today, man?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. It's good to see you. Long time no talk.
Right.
Everything's going well out there, and let's get into it.
Okay. So just a little background. So you were with the Golden State Warriors NBA writing, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. How long were you doing that before your transition?
I usually just say like 2 years, but I covered the second half of the championship season a couple years back.
Okay.
Covered the full following season, and I covered about the first 20 or so Warriors games of this year before I accepted the senior writer position at the New York Daily News covering the Nets.
Okay. So yeah, you're over at the Nets now. So let's just get right into the question. What really inspired you for your career, to pursue a career in your NBA writing?
Man, well, I was always a basketball guy growing up. Started playing around the age like 11 or 12. Uh, mainly started when my mom got remarried and my stepdad, who unfortunately passed away my sophomore year of college. But he's the reason why I'm a member of Mega Sci-Fi. He's the reason why I started hooping. And it's like any other kid, I used to have irrational hoop dreams that
Right. I
somehow made the college. Ended up playing at Auburn, but
Okay.
once I got to Auburn, I realized it was kind of the reality check, even from like my first practice. NBA for me.
Right.
I had to find a way to, find something I'm passionate about to make a living.
Stay in the game.
Stay in the game somehow. So, I knew I used to want to be a coach,
Okay.
but Auburn also spoiled that for me. I don't think I had the mental fortitude to have to deal with that. Having to see what Coach Barbie and Coach Barbie had to deal with my first couple of years on campus. But I always enjoyed reading and writing when I was younger. Always reading books. I was always that guy who could name some random stat off the top of his head, or
Right.
knew where some random prospect went to college because I stayed up till midnight one day, watching a game or something. And to rewind a little bit, I played my high school basketball at IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. My head coach was Vince Waldman, and for a while I thought I was going to be a Virginia Tech Hokie. My sister was a manager there for the men's basketball team. We're from DCVA area, so I wanted to be a Hokie. Long story short, Seth Greenberg got fired at the end of my junior year. So, my whole senior year, I was kind of looking for somewhere to go. Wasn't really a major D1 guy. Had a little bit of D2 interest, but I always wanted to have that big school experience. So, long story short, I ended up getting an opportunity to walk on at Auburn. But, towards the end of my senior year, I remember sitting in my coach's office, filling out some paperwork for school and online, and that little box came up that what do you want to major in?
Right.
I had no idea at the time.
Right.
Like I said, I had these irrational hoop dreams, and kind of ran to my coach and said, like, I don't know, I don't really know what I want to do. He said, well, what do you like? And I was just like, I like sports, I like reading, I like writing.
Right.
Those are subjects that I always took a particular interest in. Those were always my favorite teachers, always my favorite classes. Those are one classes I was always up and alert for. So, I told him that, and he said, can you save it? And he's like, yeah, because I didn't have to finish the application that day. We were just trying to work ahead, but I saved it. Went home after practice the next day. He handed me a book called "Don't Put Me In, Coach" by Mark Titus. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Mark Titus, but Mark was a walk-on at Ohio State, back in the mid to early 2000s, and he basically created a cult following for himself. I don't know if you ever heard of Grantland, but But long story short, during his time at Ohio State, had a cult following. Um, and then once he graduated, he started writing about his experiences at Grantland, and ended up writing a book. And Coach handed me that book, and I really, what's the word I'm looking for? I really
Gravitated toward it.
Gravitated toward it. Yeah, gravitated towards it because I was going to be a walk on myself, and read the book cover to cover. And long story short, that's kind of what inspired me to, I want to be a journalist too. I want to be a writer.
Right.
So decided to major in journalism, but still, when I still arrived at Auburn, I still was thinking that somehow I'll get better and defy the odds, and find my way to professional basketball. But after a year in college, I kind of realized that I need to double down on my studies and have my successful future after basketball. So I started taking my journalism courses my sophomore year. Started working at the school paper. That turns into internships for Sports Illustrated and the Opelika Auburn News and Sporting News. Graduated in 2016. I tried to do. You hear a lot of horror stories in journalism, how hard it is to break into the industry, how hard it is to get a good job, and I was like, not me. I played college basketball. I got people who work at ESPN in my corner. That ain't gonna be me. But
right.
Sure enough, it was. I graduated after my internship ended. Didn't have a job. Moved back to DC for a year. I was working at Ralph Lauren in Potomac Mills Mall. I was working, doing some internships for free. Freelance work for the Atlanta Courier Journal, covering SEC sports, specifically Auburn. Did some freelance work for ESPN, SB Nation. I actually almost ended up in the Bay Area years ahead of schedule. I actually got into Cal Berkeley after going to an NABJ convention, meeting with them. I actually got into Cal Berkeley. And that was the plan, man. I was gonna live with Brandon Chaka and Jalen Brown, man.
Okay.
Because Brandon Chaka was a point guard at Cal. I grew up with him in my area, and I was gonna move in with them and go to grad school. But kind of like a month or two before I was supposed to leave, got off of work one night, and I had this ritual where I always check the job board, apply for what I thought I was qualified for, and there was nothing but no's throughout that whole year. But one night I came home and saw the Dallas Morning News was looking for a digital producer, and I applied for the job and ended up getting it. So scrapped the grad school plans, moved down to Dallas, Texas, where my brother also lives. And while working at the Dallas Morning News was the worst professional experience I've had in my life, in my career so far. It got me in the door, and I was there for a year, and then the Athletic came and got me. They were a startup at the time. They hired me to cover the Arizona Cardinals, and Cardinals were so bad after that season, they made me more of a junior guy. We'll start doing some stuff with the Suns, Arizona State basketball and football, Arizona basketball and football. The year doing that, and moved me down to Tucson to cover the Cats full time. Men's basketball and football. Did some stuff with the women's basketball too. And then, fortunately, the Athletic had a bunch of layoffs when the pandemic hit. I was fortunate to keep my job. Ended up rerouting me again to Philadelphia to cover the Big Five. So for those who don't know, that's Villanova, LaSalle, St. Joe's, Penn, and Temple. Men's basketball, so I was kind of pseudo-regional at that point. Did that for a year. My life is operating kind of like year segments.
Yeah, I see.
So yeah, did the college hoops thing for a year, and then that's when one day I'm sitting at a Sixers game. I get a DM from Christina Carl, and said, "Hey, we're looking for a Warriors writer. Are you interested?" And right? So I ended up getting that job, moving out to the Bay. And I mean, how many people get to cover an NBA Finals their first 4 months on the job, right? You can't write that shit any better. You know what I'm saying?
For real.
Unfortunately, things weren't as perfect at the Chronicle as I thought, and I won't get into the details. But,
of course.
that, and my girl was still out here on the East Coast, and we wanted to be together. So ended up taking this job covering the Nets, man, and this is where I am now. It's been a lot of movement over the years, a lot of unpacking and repacking.
Oh, yeah.
Always the new guy everywhere I'm going,
Right.
but it's helped me get to where I am today. And a lot of people aren't fortunate enough in my industry to have that kind of stability without any type of, obviously I moved around, but I haven't had any type of gaps in my employment. And for that, I'm thankful.
Right. So, I mean, that's kind of just like the NBA world anyway. A lot of unpacking and packing. I mean, you're fortunate to stay in one city, but, just like in the
I'm a
league,
journeyman.
right. Most people, they be moving around. But, that's kind of like me. Everyone, I guess, had, those irrational hoop dreams as well, too. And that's kind of why I got into security, working for the A's, the Warriors as well, too. I started when I was 19. I played JUCO, not even D1, JUCO for half the season. I was like,
Don't
you know
sleep
what?
on JUCO, man.
No, I get it. I'm just saying, it ain't Auburn, but, I got married at 19, had my kids at the time as well, too. So I was like, hoop dream is over with. If I wasn't already a star or something like that, hoop dream's over with. So, everyone had the plan to play JUCO, a couple years, then transfer somewhere. I didn't care who, Florida State, wherever. I had a couple of schools I was looking at, and then try to, again, pursue those irrational dreams. But I was trying to stick with it, but family life takes over and things like that. I don't regret anything, but I understand I can definitely relate to that story. So I got right into working and staying close to the game. So security, that was my number one spot. And my pops and granddad, they was already working at the Coliseum since I was a kid. Pop's 95 and my grandpa since when it opened. So I was always at the stadium growing up over there anyways, Coliseum in Oakland before they moved to San Francisco. So it's just kind of like, my story as well too. Like I wanted to stay close to the game somehow, some way, some shape, some form. And I was like, damn it, security it is right now. So no, I can definitely relate to that. So I guess you kind of answered that beforehand, but I was going to ask you, like, do you cover any other sports currently?
No, just the NBA guy, just on the Nets. As most know, they haven't had the best season. They got eliminated from playoff contention last week, and they got the Knicks tonight at MSG, and then they got the Sixers on Saturday at Wells Fargo Center in Philly, and they have their exiting interviews Monday, and they're done. I think my boss was telling me they might send me some Knicks home playoff games to help out in the postseason. But to answer your question, strictly hoops.
Okay. Yeah.
I
So
have, I have covered NFL, college football, high school sports. I mean, I've done it all. Other than I don't know baseball or hockey, but done pretty much everything else.
okay. So I guess one of the main questions I have like for most journalists, excuse me, is like how do you stay objective when like you're covering a player or a team? I mean, me personally, I have favorites everywhere, but like how do you stay objective when you're covering them?
Um, you kind of just, for me, it's just me. Maybe some people have some more profound thoughts on it. For me, you just do it because that's what's expected of you. That's the job. Obviously, when you're spending so much time around this particular team, it kind of feels like family in a sense.
Right.
For your own sake, you want to see these guys do good, but you got to keep it fair. You know what I'm saying? You can't milk it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you kind of just do. You make sure you're balanced. Make sure you're not leaning too much in either way, and you just make sure you're being fair. If you're gonna praise a dude for playing well, you got to make sure you hold him accountable for when he struggles. And
Right.
that goes for coaches. That goes for everyone up and down the roster. You got to stay balanced. I think people respect that.
Right. Makes sense. So you mentioned about like coming in, covering the finals and things like that, but maybe we jump right into the finals. But like, what was your most memorable moment or most memorable game you covered?
I mean, yeah, definitely that final series. I mean,
Right.
you know, when I was at the Athletic, I was struggling just to get an NBA job. And it seems like every time something came up, I got passed over.
Mm-hmm.
And go from that to, sitting there and, TD Garden, watching, Steph collapse to his feet as the, Warriors, won their fourth championship under Steve Kerr. I mean, it was just like I said, so you can't grip that any better. And it just goes to show you that, we make plans and God laughs. Everything's on his time and his timing now. I hope that eventually, I can get opportunities to get back in those spaces. And, I hope one day I could be at the finals every year,
Right.
maybe in the national capacity. But, until then, I always cherish that. But it wasn't necessarily the final series. It was what came after, getting the ride on the, in the championship parade with Gary Payton II and James Wiseman on the float, and seeing the confetti fall from everywhere and all the love. And obviously they're not cheering for my ass, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
getting to see that perspective. I mean, I still got the goggles back there somewhere.
Yeah, I remember that day. It was a
But
real fun day.
that was the coolest thing ever. And
Yeah.
no matter what I do going forward, I think that will always be the moment. Hope I haven't peaked already, but that'll always kind of be the moment I look back on as one of the coolest moments in my career.
Right. Yeah, man, I definitely remember that day. It was pretty hot that day, but I didn't give a damn. I was out there working and on the float. Oh, we was on the ground security wise, but it was a good day. Shoot. What was NBA media, the coverage, let's say, how do you think it's changed based on, let's see, when you in your career? So when you started to where you're at right now, how has the NBA like kind of landscape changed for the media?
The landscape stayed pretty consistent across the board. I think, one thing that I'm adjusting to right now is the differences in what's the word? Like kind of availability between a team like the Warriors and a team like the Nets. I mean, most around the league know that the Warriors are kind of like an exception to the rule as far as access. I mean, Ray Ritter and them folks. I mean, you can talk to whoever you want, assistant coaches, shoot arounds are wide open, grab whoever you want to talk to, but it's not like that around the league. Like here covering the Nets, and the Nets won't let you talk to their assistant coaches. They do everything they can to make sure their head coaches only talk in controlled situations. Same thing goes for players.
Right.
Um, Outside of locker room access, and that's just based on how much riz you got in the locker room trying to get a guy to talk to you. But it's definitely not as open here with the Nets as it was with the Warriors. And to my understanding, what I'm experiencing now is pretty much the norm across the league. But
Right.
yeah, that's kind of just been my big adjustment coming over, to this beat, and it's something I'm still trying to figure out, every day. Hopefully, next season I can make more strides in that regard.
Right. Well, I guess you kind of covered my next question, which was basically what's the behind the scenes stories for like the NBA. But that pretty much covers it. Like some teams, the access is a little bit different than the others. It kind of feels that way. Just how the organizations ran. I mean, I've only been around two NBA franchises, the Kings and the Warriors, but I can already tell the difference between those two. You were working those games and being around those coaches and things like that. So no, I completely understand like where or why I should say that comes from. So, what's kind of like your most challenging? What's the most challenging aspect of being an NBA writer?
Uh, well, it kind of just depends, guys at the Athletic where I used to work, they're not required to, file so much copy, right?
Mm,
For me, I'm writing 3 stories on a game day, 2 stories on a practice day, and something bigger and more insightful on their off days. And, writing so many stories sometimes, like things can get a little diluted, and
yeah,
I mean, and it's twofold, right? When all a team does is win, it's hard to find you can probably tell more like human element pieces that people will care about. But
mm,
man, when a team is losing as much as the Nets have this year, it's my first time covering a team that struggled, an NBA team that struggled this much. It's just, how many ways can you say a team is bad, right?
Right.
How can you write that big, human element story and get people to care about it? Because at the end of the day, fans only care about the results on the court,
Right.
right? If the team's not winning, who cares about Nick Claxton's sense of fashion? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
And then
right.
all the comments are gonna say, "Man, that boy better box out," talking about that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's definitely difficult. Especially when the team is bad, trying to with so many requirements of you in terms of like the copy you have to produce, finding ways to continue to tell interesting stories that capture the attention of your readers. That's definitely a challenge and something I'm still trying to navigate my way through. But hopefully these guys don't struggle like they did this year, next year, and it'll open the door for me to really tell more of the stories I want to tell.
Right.
Also tough is when the team is struggling, guys aren't as open. Guys are maybe not as friendly as they would have been to a reporter.
Right.
It's hard to go get an interview after a 30-point loss. Like, what I'm saying? Nobody's trying to talk to a reporter after a 30-point loss. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I get that. I also work for security for the A's and Giants, so those teams have been struggling a little bit, to start the season, and then last season as well too. So, I definitely understand. At least seeing the reporter's face when they come out the locker rooms, like them guys didn't want to talk, or whatever. It's I'm not gonna get into all the locker room talk, I should say,
These
but
guys are human, man. Like,
yeah,
I played in college, so I've been on the other side of it. So I
right,
know how it is, but I still got to do my job. You know what I'm saying? So it's
right,
always that balance of like not overstepping and like violating someone's personal
space,
bubble.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you still got to go get that story somehow though.
right, right,
So,
yeah. No, I get that. So I guess coupled with that, how do you prepare for your interviews?
just read up on my subject, maybe snoop on their social media a little bit, see what they've been up to off the court. Um, take into account what they've done on the court. And something I like to do is I like to talk to other people about my subject before. If I'm writing a feature on somebody, I'm gonna talk to other people before I talk to them. So I have like the full, range of knowledge going into that interview instead of interviewing him first and like, oh, this I should go talk to so and so. So let me, then I feel like we're working backwards. So I try to talk to people around the person before I talk to that person.
That's interesting. Because I mean, at least you get a little bit of access, a little bit more. Because shoot, just like me, I don't really cover everything on my social media, or at least show. I'm gonna say cover, but I don't show a lot of things on my social media. So if someone trying to look me up, just being like in the real estate world, it's like, well, do you actually do real estate? I'm like, I'm not gonna show you everything. I'm just gonna show you what I want you to see.
Not everyone's, they're not gonna show all the cards, but you can get a little sense. Maybe sometimes get a sense of some things they might be interested in off the court that can serve as a good icebreaker once you sit down and talk to them.
Right. Okay, so who do you think is, or who would be your most interesting person that you've ever had to interview?
It's crazy because I was going through my phone the other day and I was just like seeing all these saved numbers of like people in the past that I would talk to, and I was just like, man, I've talked to a lot of people, man, but most interesting interview, and not a lot of folks are going to know this name, but I was covering the University of Arizona. There was this incoming recruit named Majon Wright. He was a wide receiver. I'm not sure where Majon is at these days, but the crazy thing about the story is just kind of how it happened. So at the time, Majon was, I think he was maybe like a 2-3 star recruit. Very few people even knew who he was, and a lot of young kids want to get their name out there. So I'm sitting at my apartment in Tucson. I get this DM from the kid one day, and he's like, "Hey man, like I would love for you to, I'm trying to get my name out there. I'd love for you to maybe write about me or do a story about me." And I'm just like, "All right, why not?
Right.
I need content. Let's do it." And when we got on the phone and actually started doing the interview, I was just blown away with this story. Turns out that he was the younger brother of Major Wright, who played for the Chicago Bears. I think they were like half brothers. And the crazy thing was just his story. I mean, he grew up living at the airport, man.
Oh, wow.
Family, his mom was homeless, single mom. They're basically homeless. They were living out of hotels. She worked at the airport, spent all day running around the airport with his sister, and was sleeping at the terminals at night. And he wasn't that close with Major Wright, with his older brother Major growing up. Major Wright won a Super Bowl with the Bears. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But just his story of just triumph and perseverance, all that. It just blew me away, and it goes to show you, like, you never judge a book by its cover. A lot of reporters dismiss stories based on the name, based on the face card, right?
Right.
Oh, like, this kid's not gonna get any clicks. Why even bother? But till this day, that was the most fulfilling story I've ever written, and like that's the type of story that's why I got into this in the first place. Like, I didn't get into journalism to tell right game stories and do all this analysis, about offensive sets and all that stuff. Where a guy might go. Nah, man, I got into this to tell the stories that deserve to be told, and Majon's story absolutely deserved to be told. And till this day, it's just so fulfilling, and I'm so glad I got to uplift him and his family in that way and tell their story through their eyes, man. I mean, to this day, I still haven't written a story better. So if y'all watching this podcast, definitely go check it out. Google Majon Wright, Yeah Athletic, and hopefully the story pops up. But man, it's just a tremendous story of loss and perseverance and fighting. And to this day, I just no story, no interview has blown me away more than when I interviewed Majon Wright a couple years back. And keep in mind, I've interviewed NBA Hall of Famers. I've interviewed All Stars. I've interviewed all pro guys, but Hall of Fame coaches, all this stuff. But Majon Wright, that was the interview that always stick out in my mind.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to link that in the description because that sounds like a story that I want to definitely dive into. That sounds really interesting. But yeah, shoot, yeah, that's definitely would be one of the most interesting to me. Okay, how do you handle criticism from either the fans or players, anything like that?
Not always well. Sometimes I remember when I was covering the Warriors, I had a one-on-one with Jonathan Kuminga, and he kept it real with me. And then I wrote what he told me, and then all of a sudden he went on Twitter and kind of quote tweeted it and basically discredited my reporting. And
Wow.
of course, when you do that, then the fan base gonna come for you, right? And I was getting DMs for months, like people were sending me rat DMs and saying that I'm a liar and I'm unethical and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And that definitely hurts, man. Cause it's just like, man, like and the thing is, the actual story that came out, like all it did was just tell the story of a dude who's, struggling with his role and then he's staying locked in spite of it.
Right.
And me and Jonathan have a good relationship, but other people didn't realize that. And, I don't understand why Jonathan did me like that, but,
hey, it's part of the job, right?
Yeah, but getting attacked from different directions. And I remember one time during one of the Warriors playoff runs, I think it was like the Lakers Warriors series. I picked the Lakers to win, which they eventually did. I think I picked Lakers in 5, and then they won in 6.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And like I said, I'm supposed to be objective.
Right.
I thought the Lakers were the better team in the series, right? And I picked the Lakers, and fan base came for me for that, blowing up my DMs with all this hate and all this stuff. And fans are crazy, but you can't let it get to you too much. I'm an emotional dude, so I sometimes let that stuff get to me in the past a little more than I should have. But for any young reporters out there, best thing I can say to do is, and when people start coming at you with hate, turn off the notifications, maybe delete the Twitter app for a while, put your phone down, disconnect, because same way those players step up at the press conference, they got to stand by what they say. You got to stand by what you write.
Right.
can't show too much weakness, or people are gonna start poking holes in your reporting. You know what I'm saying?
No,
So
for real. And I'll tell you
things
this,
get tough.
man.
Yeah.
The Bay, we passionate about our sports now. So you can't be coming for us like that. I know the Raiders ain't here no more, but we some Raiders, we some Niners, we some Warriors. I mean, the baseball, they passionate about that too. But you talk about passion, that Raider and that Niner passion, and see the Warriors, that's the Bay's team, like they always say. Like, we don't have no other basketball team. It's just San Francisco don't have a basketball team in Oakland. That's the Bay's team. So you got everybody. You got Raiders fans and Niners fans. So we passionate about our sports. You're gonna have to be cool. If you're gonna write something, you're gonna say something, stand on it. Cause we coming.
Yeah, just trust your work, man. Trust your work, trust your reporting, and they come for you. Just disconnect for a while, man. Let it blow over, because they gonna come
Definitely.
if you're actually doing your job the way you're supposed to do it, man. They gonna come. You just gotta handle it the right way.
Right. Okay. So what do you think separates good NBA writing from like mediocre NBA writing?
The ability to pull back the curtain and, like I said, go beyond the game story. Um, and it's not even necessarily the X's and O's. Like, a lot of folks are able to make a career out of analysis these days, and I get it, because most people, the average person can't break down the game in a way that others can, right? Especially in a written medium that's easy to understand and digest and consume. But I like Marcus Thompson, my mentor. He's my goat. Mark Spears, another mentor of mine. He's another one of my goats. And what separates them is not necessarily their ability to analyze the game, but their ability just to peel back the curtain and get that trust for people to open up to them, and just to tell stories that deserve to be told, like important stories that like give you a glimpse into this person's life or their mindset. I mean, that's journalism.
Right.
Like, that's the important stuff. There's a lot of folks who can do the X and O's, who can do the X's and O's, but there's not a lot of people who can really tell a story, who really have bars like that. And I think that's what separates the good NBA writer from the great.
Right.
That's what I'm aspiring to be. That's going to have to give me some access first. Y'all hear that, Brooklyn? Y'all watching this podcast? I need more access, man.
Yeah. Hey, send it to them. Make sure they hear it loud and clear. Shoot. All right. So, what do you think about technology? Like, how's it shaping the NBA media? How's it going to change it, or advantages, disadvantages?
Well, hopefully we're not all replaced with AI here soon.
Man,
you know what I'm saying? But honestly, I feel like AI could tell the game story, and like, if we can use AI to tell a game story, and that frees us up to do things that are more meaningful, cool, right? But I don't really see too much with the intersection of technology and journalism at the moment, for real. But I do think that there's certain applications or things that can be done to make our job easier.
Right.
Obviously the doomsday scenarios will get replaced, but a lot of machines at some point in the future. But at the end of the day, no machine can, have the heart and soul of the human writer, and really be able to, jerk on those emotional strings and stuff like that.
Right.
That stuff that really come from, a writer who, seen some things, been through some things, and can relate to their subject enough to be able to bring their story to life.
Right. Okay, so how do you like balance like insightful analysis compared to like entertaining the audience?
I don't entertain too much. Every once in a while, I'll write some fun. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of just out there for fun, but I try to target the hardcore sports fans. So with that, it's usually a lot more analysis heavy than anything else.
Yeah, well, especially I like those type of writings as well too, because I'm definitely analytical type of guy. The analytics is my thing. Like I was one of those guys that could go back and reference someone's college stats for some random reason. But
Yeah.
when I'm reading, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, does this person know what they're talking about? Like the in depth of the game, like breaking down certain details. Because we played. I mean, we are looking for a certain different, I guess, information because we know the game maybe better than the average fan. So reading it, I want to understand that that person understands the game as well too, when they're breaking it down and with analysis as well too. So that's something I like when I'm reading. That's what I like reading as well too. Maybe not the average fans like that, but I know I'm like that.
Actually.
Yeah. Okay, so like, what's the most unexpected story that you've ever had to cover?
Unexpected. It's a tough one. Because, good reporters never caught flat-footed too many times,
Right.
So, you're usually got a sense of what's coming, and, you kind of, deploy your reporting accordingly. But unexpected, probably COVID, right?
Yeah.
I was covering University of Arizona at the time. The year I was there was like the Nico Manning and Josh Green, Zeke Najee year, and they were kind of, I won't say they struggled, but they kind of didn't play up to their
Caliber.
capability all year long, or what was expected of them. And then here comes the Pac-12 tournament. Their first game was against Washington out there in Vegas, and they played their best game of the year. And here I'm thinking, maybe they can get off on a run, get into the Pac-12 tournament. But I'm sitting up here finishing my game story, and all of a sudden, see all these reporters kind of like start whispering, and starts getting louder, and all of a sudden I'm staring at the TV, and turns out the world's shutting down. So went from covering a potential Pac-12 tournament run to covering what COVID means for not only Arizona basketball, but sports in general. And that whole summer was full of unexpected stories and trying to pull content out of nothing.
Right.
You have nothing to cover, but we still got to provide content and do the job. And that was definitely a difficult stretch, I would say. But for the most part, I'm on top of it, and none really catches me too off guard. I was surprised when the Nets fired Jock Vaughn at the All Star break.
Weren't
I
we
thought
all?
I thought they at least let him ride it out for the rest of the year. I was back home down in DC as I don't travel. With the Warriors, I went to every road game. My paper doesn't have the money like that here. I'm not traveling as much. So I was home in DC when the news broke, and I was like, well, I was supposed to stay home for a week. And I was like, well, guess I got to get back to New York for this introductory press conference.
Right. There goes
Yeah.
that. No, I definitely remember. It's crazy because COVID, when the world shut down for that, it's crazy. We was working Warrior game. The whole Rudy Gobert thing happened, the press conference.
Mhm.
The very next game was supposed to be versus Brooklyn Nets. It was KD's first game back, first game in Chase Center, period. Um, that was going to be the first game. We was all prepared for it. We had a whole security meeting about it.
But,
Everything was supposed to be huge, and that game got canceled, and the world shut down. It it was just funny how that happened, because it took a while for KD to have his first game back at Chase Center playing, because the very next time he was hurt, out again. So it was definitely one of those things. Like, I look back at everybody knows where they were at when that happened. Like, damn, like, no more work. What the hell? What's going on here? So let's see. How do you navigate between like relationships with fellow writers, players, coaches? I kind of mentioned it beforehand, but like, where do you kind of like draw certain lines or keep the relationships a certain way?
Obviously, when it comes to the players, you want to be out there, partying with them, all that crazy stuff. But look, man, I just treat people the way I would be treated, and always try to bring in a certain level of positivity for me every day. I step in those locker rooms. I look at these guys like people, and not just players. And especially someone who more or less was in their shoes. I never played in the NBA or anything, but
Right.
I know what it's like to playing. They play the game and have media around and stuff like that. So I just treat people the way I want to be treated, and I just hope that it'll be reciprocated. And if it is, then that provides a good building block to build a relationship. And that's what the job is, man. It's relationships, not just with the players, but with the coaches and with other reporters you work with. And with other reporters you work with, become extensions of your family. Madeline Kenny, Kendra Andrews, Anthony Slater, Marcus Thompson, Dalton Johnson, all them cats out in the Bay. I miss them every day, man. They're like family to me.
Right.
Reporters in New York, I work with now in New York, and it's slowly starting to feel that way too. So it just comes down to just being a good person, man. Keep an open mind, keep an open heart, and treat people the way you want to be treated.
Right. Right. No, definitely. Y'all's my people. The front row of the media, all y'all sat down there. Y'all's my people. So I definitely understand that. Even on the security level, I made sure I took care of my media up front. But yeah, I get it. Everybody becomes family, and those relationships you like keep them tight, make sure everybody's solid and good, and everything's going on. All right. So next question I have, like, how do you? Where am I at? What's your favorite aspect of covering the NBA?
Just getting to watch NBA games for free every day, man.
Tell
Getting to
you.
walk in those arenas with all the pageantry and the presentation and the fans, and I definitely miss traveling. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I don't, in this job, I only get to go to like the hyper local stuff, like Boston, DC, Philly.
I mean, you
But
get to catch that MSG game. That's right down the street,
yeah,
man.
I mean, I don't no game, no, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, just getting to be in the arenas, getting to walk into the arenas, and, other NBA players walking in with you, so that's just so cool to me, man. And, yeah, just still, just getting to be in so many, historic arenas and just see so many different, perspectives and, different energies from fan base to fan base. I think that's the coolest thing of all.
Right, right. No, I definitely get that. I don't get to go to too many NBA arenas. I mean, I only work security for one, but I've been in plenty others. But being able to travel and go to other ones, I mean, that I can understand how it'd be dope. I love going to them anyways as a fan, but being there working, that would be dope. Well, I actually did work at Golden One in Sacramento, but I wasn't doing security. I was doing more marketing promotions for a little bit. But yeah, being there as a worker, fan, different arenas, night to night, that shoot, you got me sold on that one. That's for me too. So let's see what we got here. How do you stay informed for like the latest like breaking news? I mean, you're a journalist yourself, so would you stay informed? Like maybe before breaks or like after breaks?
I just make sure I'm talking, I just make sure I'm talking to people, kind of staying in the loop in that way. And I got alerts on my phone for just about everybody and their mama. So I
Yeah,
don't miss
yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, shoot,
But that's pretty much about it.
okay, okay. So like, can you discuss kind of like the role with social media with writing? I mean, I know you just kind of said like the alerts and things like that, but like what's kind of like the role that plays with you writing and social media?
Just like building your own personal brand and making sure the things that you do right get read. Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, it's just basically the best way to get to get the information that you're trying to share with your audience out there. So you want to I hate social media
Hey,
personally.
no
I mean,
arguments there.
have any media, but it's necessary evil for what we have to do and to get our content out there and get eyes on it and share. It doesn't always have to be a story you share, but it can be observations, injury updates, or things like that. Just using the medium to do your job at a higher level and to build your own personal brand.
Right, right. No, I get it. I barely post. I mean, I do for my job. I want to do more, getting more content out there. But if I didn't have to for social media, I wouldn't. I mean, that's just the way of the world nowadays. So
Mm-hmm.
no, I get it. I wouldn't be on social media if I didn't have to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what do you think is like the biggest misconception about a writer or just, your position in general?
And it's an easy job. And a lot of people are like, oh, you get to just, whenever I tell people who aren't familiar, what I do, they're like, so you just go to NBA games and just write. But nah, man, it's
Taxing.
odd hours. It's shit pay most of the time. Odd hours, shit pay. Like I said, it's always having to like dig and go above and beyond to just to do your job and tell a story that people care about. Um, you know the when I was traveling, my girl didn't like that very much because I was never home,
Of
always
course
on
not.
the road, always gone. That stuff's tough, man. And especially when you cover NBA games. You cover an NBA, it's 82 games, man. Like
Right.
you barely have time for yourself. And between games, you got shoot around, you got practices.
Right. Right.
Always doing something. Especially if you're traveling and all that, and you're always on the road. You're always doing something. That can be a lot. It can wear on you. It can burn you out quickly. That's why it's always important to take care of yourself when you can as an NBA writer because you just don't have a lot of time to yourself. It's a misconception that it's kind of just like a cakewalk and it's easy and it's not. It's constantly flexing your brain muscles, always having to, come up with story ideas and things of that nature. So it is not as easy as a lot of people think it is. It's damn near difficult. Sometimes I struggle with the 82 games played. And I can imagine covering baseball and having to cover 100 plus.
162. That's ridiculous.
100.
And that's
So
every
yeah,
day. Every day.
definitely. It's a constant battle with yourself throughout the whole season, and a lot of people don't realize it doesn't just end when the season ends. If your team is good enough, then you got to cover the playoffs.
Right.
Let alone if your team goes all the way, that's another 2-3 months of work.
Right.
As soon as that ends, you got the draft, you got free agency, you got summer league. Really, as an NBA writer, the only month of the year you have off is August.
And that's football time.
Yeah, that's on where you work. Because as soon as September comes back, you right back in training camp, and the whole cycle starts again. So it's a grind in every sense of the word, man. And a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of
Right.
people think you're just showing up and watching basketball. It's a
Right.
lot. It's a lot more than that, man.
Yeah, no. I get it. We didn't normally used to work Warriors until June because, for us, April come, we got about a solid week and a half, and we on the baseball season.
Mm-hmm.
That all changed when, they start going to the playoffs, like that 2012, 2013 year. They start going to playoffs, so now that interrupted us. We used to just go next door to baseball. We had to pick and choose where we was going then. So yeah, it definitely got difficult when they were start 15 when they start going to finals, and we ended in June, mid-June at that. It wasn't an easy. So I get that struggle. So how do you choose between what stories to pursue and which ones not to?
You just gotta have a feel for it. There's a lot of things that guys might tell you in confidential. Guys might tell you in you know confidentiality. Is that the word? And you're not. There's some things that someone might tell you, "Not just gonna turn around and write it." You
Yeah.
might just use as background for yourself personally to dictate, the narrative what you're doing. But you kind of just gotta have a feel for it. What's news is pretty obvious. More times than not. And you never want to miss the obvious. You can never miss the obvious. It's like the worst thing you can do as a writer is to write a story and completely miss the mark on what was obvious that day. And even that you can finagle a little bit because sometimes it's good to go in a direction different than what everyone else is doing.
Right.
But you still can't miss the obvious. And then from there, it's just based on what you want to pursue and, how do you want to build your own personal projects around, the stuff that you absolutely have to write about.
Right. Yeah,
Mhm.
makes sense. All right, so we kind of covered your most memorable interview when you did a player. Do you have a memorable for a coach?
Well, coach, I mean, whenever I got the chance to sit down with Steve Kerr, that was always nice. So insightful, so kind. Enjoyed covering that man a lot. Um, Coach, though? And you got Phil Martelli, on the college level. Cover a lot of, had a lot of interviews, a lot of college coaches one-on-one. Jay Wright. Um, damn, which coach stands out the most? I don't know that one.
Steve Kerr is probably going to be the number one.
Probably Steve Kerr, but that's probably just recency bias.
Right. Yeah. All right. So, like, how do you handle like breaking news in the NBA? I mean, I know you say you have alerts and stuff like that, but do you have
Breaking news is a monopoly right now, man. I've been lucky enough to get some stuff here and there over the years, but I wouldn't necessarily consider myself a news breaker.
Yeah.
Maybe I can make some progress in that regard as I mature in my career and build my relationships. I'm not gonna break any news on the Nets beating. I've only been there for 4 months, but that is a process. Source building, that is a process I'm still trying to figure out. But I have been, lucky to get some nuggets here and there. But for the most part, especially in the NBA, Wills and Shams have such a monopoly over news breaking. It's have agents in their pockets and things of that nature. It's hard to break a lot of stuff in the NBA these days, but it's not impossible. And then, as you can see, different writers across the landscape, just gotta be willing to work to get that information.
Man, tell me about it. Okay, so what do you kind of hope viewers get from like your coverage when they're reading your articles or whatever coverage you are putting out, whether it's a tweet or a full article? What do you hope what they get from your article?
Some stuff I write is just a routine news story, but overall, I just want them to feel something. I want them to read my work and feel something, feel some emotion, feel something that connects them to their team or the game they just watched. Something just connects them, pulls back the curtain. I just want them to feel something, man. A lot of people can read something and feel nothing. I just want people to feel something when they read my work, and if I can make you a little bit smarter about the game, make you learn something that you didn't know before, then I did my job.
Yeah. Okay. Well, see, now we can get kind of into the good stuff. What do you think this year?
Wait, that wasn't the good stuff?
No, I'm just saying the good stuff. We ain't got to talk specifically about you all the time. What do you think about the predictions this year for the playoffs? What you got? Who you got?
Oh man, just looking at the standings. Boston, and everybody else in the East. So I'd be shocked to see them not get to the finals. In the West,
we jumbled up
West
out here.
Is pretty cluttered at the top as usual. I still think it's kind of Denver in the field. It's no offense to the Warriors fans; they're gonna inevitably see in my DMs, bro. But got a team like Minnesota, I kind of question them. They kind of came out of nowhere with this year. A lot of young guys, in prominent roles. Have they been there before? You can make the argument they haven't been there before. You can say the same thing about the OKC team. So really, I think when it comes down to it, I think it's going to be Boston Nuggets for the title, and until Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown prove me otherwise, I wouldn't be surprised to see Jokic and the Nuggets go back to back. Honestly.
Oh, so you taking Nuggets back to back?
They tough, man. They tough. But don't sleep. I don't want to sleep on the Sixers either. They were rolling before Embiid got hurt.
Yeah,
he's back in the lineup now. The Nets will see him on Sunday. I think they can be a team that can kind of be sneaky and go on a run, because when they were healthy, they were pretty damn good this season too. And don't sleep on the Warriors. It's been a
hell of a year.
It's been a hell of a year from them. From across the board, a hell of a year, man. But it seems like they're playing their best basketball at the right time.
Right.
They won like 8 or 10 or something. Trying to sneaking up those playing positioning, and when you got 30, 11, and 23,
got a shot.
You got a shot, man. You got a shot. So we'll see if they can find some magic, man, and go get off on a run here.
Yeah, no, I've been looking at that standard real close. For me, like you say, you got 30 on your team, you got a shot. But where I look at it is this: if we get the 7th seed and we go up against Minnesota, I think we got a real good chance to upset. That's going to be tough. That means we got to sneak into the 7-8 game, which will be the 8, and we got to more than likely play the Suns and beat them on the road. Possible? Yeah. We're asking a lot? Yeah. But again, you got 30 on your side, so you got a puncher's chance. That's my biggest hope, because Denver's got that number 1 seed. Nobody wants to face Denver in the first round. That's just out. So my sneaky suspicion is we'll get that 7-8 game, get the 7 seed, and we owe Minnesota and we owe OKC a couple games because they got a couple game winners on us this year. OKC definitely, we owe them. But I don't know. I like they got nice young teams, both of them, real nice young teams, play hard, gritty. We just owe them. We can't be the old guys on the block getting beat up by the young guys. So we owe them. But yeah, my thing is, if we get in there, we got a chance. We don't lose very often in the playoffs. We just don't. So I'm saying like I'm playing. But the Warriors don't lose very often when they're in the playoffs. So I'm just saying, if we get in, we got a shot. I don't care what's going on. But that's the playoffs. That's the nature of the playoffs. It's a whole new season. It ain't the preseason. It ain't regular season. It's the postseason. So anybody get in, you got a shot.
Absolutely.
All right. So my last question for you, like, what's some tips, tricks, or advice that you have for like anybody that may want to pursue a career in the NBA as a writer, or just kind of motivation for them?
Don't.
Short and
I'm
sweet.
joking. Nah, man, this is what you want to do. Start early if you can. Write as much as you can in college. Write through your school paper. Pursue different internships. Don't just be good at writing, but learn how to produce. Learn how to do on-air stuff. Make yourself a well-rounded. I like to call it a Swiss Army knife of a prospect for these big companies. Is like that's what they want to see. They want to see versatile people who can do a lot of different things. I used to not want to be a writer. I used to want to work more in the production space, but when things didn't work out with that, I was flexible enough my skill set to be able to transition into writing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So make sure you're flexible. Make sure you're meeting as many people as you can, because in this industry, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know.
Absolutely.
Work your ass off. Get as much copy as you can under your belt, and just be patient, man. It's not going. Some people are going to shoot straight to the top quickly. While others like me are going to have to grind through the mud and move around a lot and move to a couple different shops. And I'm not done yet. You know what I'm saying? I can assure you that covering the Nets isn't going to be my last stop.
Right.
And then it's all on God's time, and be patient. And if you want it bad enough, and if you work hard enough, and if you develop yourself enough, it's going to happen. Someone's going to find you, because that's been my experience.
Right. Nah, I mean that's it for a lot of different. I mean, shoot, securities like that as well too. Working your way up. I definitely have. But that's definitely true for any aspect of life and any business you go into. Shoot, real estate for me as well too. Same thing. But yeah, man, I really appreciate you taking time to do this though. Like for real, me personally, I love seeing more black faces around covering the league. It's not like we don't have them, but the more and more black faces we have out there, I like seeing people that look like me. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like I like seeing people that look like me covering our sport. So I definitely appreciate you taking time to do this and giving us insight, kind of pulling back the curtain, because most businesses, honestly, even mine, there's a lot of gatekeepers. There's a lot of people who have the information, but only will give it to the people who they deem necessary, or like nepotism, things like that. So taking time and pulling back the curtain and kind of give people the real, at least from your perspective, and that's number one, your perspective, how you feel about certain things in your environment. It's not going to be the same for everybody, but at least they have one person's perspective. Like, this is how it is, and this is my experience, and yours may be different, but this was definitely mine. So, no, I really appreciate you taking time to sit down and talk with us. It's family.
Hey, man, yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a long time coming, and wish you the best. And I hope our segment today can help someone else out with their career, man. Anything's possible, bro. You just gotta be able to put in the work and be patient enough to see the see the seeds you plant and grow.
Yep. Cool. Any last words, anything like that, or that was pretty much it for you?
And if you guys are interested in my life, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at CJHolmes22.
Oh yeah, definitely. We're gonna link that information in the description. But yeah, that's it for episode 2. Hope you guys enjoyed. Sit down with CJ. Like, comment, subscribe, send it to someone who may need this, and signing off.